Good evening, everybody. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and I wanted to welcome everybody here. I know this is kind of an impromptu live stream, but there is a good reason for it. The main reason is that I don't know if you guys have ever heard, I don't know whether you heard about this or not, but Olivia Newton-John recently passed away. I think it was about a week or two ago. I'm not really sure exactly what the date was, but she has passed away. And everybody's making a big deal about it. I know that a long time ago, I made a video. It was a music review of the song Hopelessly Devoted to You. And I was trying to get people to watch that. Not a lot of people seem very interested in that. But what we're going to do tonight is we're going to review the movie Grease. And we're going to do it from a unique perspective. And that is from the Eugene character perspective. A lot of people review it from the Danny perspective, the Sandy perspective, la, 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 la. They'll talk about Rizzo. They'll talk about Frenchie. But you'll be hard-pressed to find anybody that talks a great deal about Eugene, okay? And you think he'd be such a minor character, but really, if you think about it, he's the kind of character you really need to talk about. And I'll get into that a little bit. But anyway, I actually took the notes. I actually had physical notes like this, and I transcribed them onto Facebook. And when I first posted it, Facebook wouldn't let it on. I'm like, why? There's nothing wrong with it. And then I found out that I had included a hyperlink to the video about my review of Hopelessly Devoted to You. And they called it spam. Okay, now you have to keep in mind where I posted this thing. I posted it on my Speed Learner fan page. Okay, you're like, wait, what? You posted on the fan page and you're the administrator of the fan page and they called it spam? Oh, yeah. So I decided, okay, why don't I put it on educational YouTube? My other Facebook page. They wouldn't let me do it there either. But this is not spam. I own those pages. If I want to spam on my own page, that's my business. It has nothing to do with you. So that was ridiculous and stupid and absolutely one of the dumbest things I've ever heard of. But anyway, so what I did was I took the link out of the commentary, and then what I did was I actually I was successfully able to post everything else, and then I made a comment and I showed you guys the link that way. I was like, what's the difference? I still got away with it. Boy, they a bunch of dumb bunnies. Okay. So anyway, everybody relax. Obviously, Facebook is very dumb, and we've now proven that. So anyway, before I get into anything, I am going to do this as a separate video. The reason is that people don't want to watch this kind of introduction. They really don't. I mean, some people love the live streams. A lot of people don't. So there you go. I mean, he's just talking. Well, I'm saying a lot of important things. And there you go. Now then, I want to tell you guys, if you're new to this channel, I do have Kindle books. I have 5 of them. If you want to purchase any of them, let me know, and I will go ahead and send you links to all the Kindle books. Or, I'll start you out with one, and then you can find the rest very easily. And if you can't, let me know, and I'll show you the rest of them are too. So, without further ado, let me pull up my notes. Because like I said, I actually okay, let's see. Okay. I wanted to apologize. I just got home from work. I'm terribly parched, and I have to go to work tomorrow, so I'm going to try to do this in a relatively brief fashion. I'll have a better live stream coming up. I also wanted to let you guys know I will be videotaping the Labor Day Parade. That's right, the Labor Day Parade is going to come up on Monday. I will be in downtown Decatur. I will videotape it. Okay, so you guys will be able to see that footage towards the end of the day. So that'll be something for you guys to look forward to. Also, in a little over a week, I will be at the Mount Pulaski, Illinois Fall Festival Parade. I will videotape that as well. There you go. Okay, so let's get this show on the road. Oh, son of a fuck. Okay. Guess we're going to have to do something. Excuse me while I have a little war with my media card. I do appreciate all your patience on this. I did not know my media card was going to do this. All right, let's see. All right. Give me just a second here. I'm going to work with this for just a second. See if I can get this thing to actually do something other than stare at me. All right. That's much better. Oh, son of... What the... What in the tarnations? Don't do this. Are you freaking kidding me? I am having all kinds of technical difficulties tonight. My mouse just went completely on me. What in the world is going on? Why is my mouse not working? Okay, that's not the string of the mouse. That's the string of the mouse. Okie dokie. Why is my mouse not working? Ah, mouse is working again. Ugh. I just hate it when equipment doesn't work. Really? Okay. Now that we seem to have all the glitches back under control, or at least try. Oh, no, 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 no. What the? Okay. That's better. Don't just hate when computers do not work. Not one, it's another. Ugh. Okay. Let's try this one more time. Okie dokie. Here we go. Good evening, everyone. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and tonight what we're going to do is we're going to review the movie Grease, which also means that outside of one song, we're going to review all the songs in Grease as well. Okay? And we're going to review this from the Eugene perspective. Now, I don't know how many of you have ever watched the movie Grease. I'm sure a lot of you have if you're watching this video right now. But the thing is that a lot of people cover this from the Sandy perspective, the Danny perspective, the Rizzo perspective, but never really the Eugene perspective. We're going to cover that here tonight. But before I do, I wanted to let you know that right now I'm running a live stream. That's why I'm at an angle right now. And I have my notes right here on my laptop, which is right next to my camera. And I also wanted to let you know that I actually have 5 Kindle books. And if you want links to any of those Kindle books, you let me know, and I'll send you the links, okay? So with that little brief advertising out of the way, because I had to sponsor myself, nobody else is sponsoring me at this point, I'm going to go ahead and do this, all right? I bet you're thinking to yourself, I wish people would advertise like Ted does. Just get it over quick and swift and be done. That's what I do. Okay. I want you to go ahead, if you're on a streaming service, go ahead and start the movie. Otherwise, if you have a DVD, start the DVD and just follow along as I ask these questions. I'm going to start by asking a bunch of questions like I do on every single one of my reviews, and then I'll tell you what I think about the movie. All right. When the movie starts, there are 2 people, which would be Danny and Sandy. They are walking along the beach. Running would be more like, but okay. We are to assume that they are walking on a beach next to the Pacific Ocean, but that is never, quote, specified. Okay, I mean, it's a big body of water. I'm assuming that that's the Pacific Ocean, but it may not be. Who knows? But I'm pretty sure it probably is. Anyway, if you guys want to clarify that, say, hey, man, Rydell was on the beach of the Pacific Ocean, go ahead. Anyway, and I have to ask right off the bat, you're telling me that there was nobody else at that time of night walking or running across the beach other than Danny and Sandy? I find that very difficult to believe, even though this is, and they weren't very clear about this. I'm not sure whether this was 1957 going into 1958 or whether this is 1958 going into 1959. I don't know which. Okay. And it might affect the outcome of my review later on, but we'll get to that in just a second. All right. Now, Sandy never actually specifies why she has to return to Australia. I know her parents are going to move away, but we don't know the parents' jobs. We know very little about what's going on with Sandy and her family. We just don't, okay? And you're going to try to tell me that ever since Sandy met Danny, that she never met any member of his family, none of his friends, nothing like that? This is a family-oriented person, and you're telling me she never met anybody in Danny's life, nobody at all? I find that very hard to believe. Maybe not impossible, but I find it difficult. Okay? Now, of course, the movie starts out with the song Grease, and for those of you who don't know, Grease was sung by Frankie Valli, but was actually written by Barry Gibb. who right at this very moment is not well, and we're not sure when he's going to pass away. I mean, he's lived an awful long time. So, I mean, it could be this year, it could be next year, it could be 5 years from now. We don't know, but he's not really well right now, and it's not looking good. Let's just say that. Okay. Now, according to the lyrics of the song Grease, okay, I'm just addressing the person in the song, okay? What problems did you solve? What light did you see? What are you feeding the loving thing? Can't can't you be who you are without believing in who you are? Why do you think they don't understand? What are their lips lying about? Why is Grease the word? How will you stop the fight? What time, place, emotion are you referring to? Now, the word conventionality is derived from the Latin prefix con, which means together, and the Latin word venire, which means to come or approach. So this word means to come to some kind of an agreement. So why are you throwing away a collective agreement? Why do you think your life is an illusion? What trouble are you facing, and why are you so confused? And those are the questions I would ask. Well, I suppose I could ask Frankie Valli if he was still alive. I suppose I could ask Barry Gibb if he's well enough to answer the questions. Who knows? But somebody needs to be asked those questions. Okay, let's get back into the movie, shall we? What was in the homemade lunch? Rizzo's car is obviously malfunctioning, but she has the ability and the resources to pay someone to paint her car totally pink? Really? That's interesting. How does Rizzo's gang plan to rule the school? Why didn't Sandy's parents fill out all the forms? You notice that Sandy was in the admissions office and she had to fill out a bunch of forms. Why didn't her parents fill out those forms? That's a good question. Blanche doesn't know how to install a ribbon into a typewriter? Really? Why would any of the Thunderbirds smuggle a water pistol into the school? I'd like to know that. Danny and Sandy are in the same school building day after day, and up until the pep rally where they had the big bonfire, okay, up until that point, they never once saw each other, and Sandy was never told by any one of those students who Danny really was. Not once. I find that very hard to believe. Maybe not impossible, but I find it hard to believe. All right. And Danny doesn't ask Kenickie more questions about the girl he saw in the admissions office, which happened to be Sandy. Really? With enough details, Danny himself could have figured out it was Sandy. All right, let's go into the lyrics of the song Summer Lovin'. In which leg did she get a cramp? If she was swimming, then why was her suit dry? What did Danny do to show off? What was his bowling score? Where did you stroll? Interesting questions, huh? All right, let's go back to the movie. How did Rizzo sneak a large wine bottle into Frenchie's house? Okay. Now, if this had been Rizzo's house, probably her parents wouldn't have noticed because they probably wouldn't have cared. But this is Frenchie's house, not Rizzo's house. Frenchie's parents probably were more family oriented. So getting that bottle of liquor into that house, okay. And what brand of wine was Rizzo and the gang drinking? That's a good question. Now, I know at this point you're probably sitting there going, well, where is his review of Hopelessly Devoted to You? Okay, for those of you watching this video, I'm going to put a hyperlink down here because I previously reviewed that song, and you can watch that review all to your heart's content. Thank you very much. All right. Now, let's return to the movie. Okay, Sandy never asked Frenchie what she learned in beauty school at all. And Sandy never asked Danny about his place of employment. I mean, here they were on the beach at the beginning of the movie, and she never asked Danny where he was employed. Really, I doubt that seriously. Okay? Now, you have Sandy. She goes outside. She's singing Hopelessly Devoted to You, and you see a little kiddie pool, okay? Now, that kiddie pool should indicate that Frenchie has siblings. I wasn't Frenchie swimming in that pool, I can guarantee you that. Where are Frenchie's siblings? They're having a sleepover, please. Okay? All right, now we have to stop again because we're going to review the song Look at Me, I'm Sandra D. I'm going to go ahead and ask some questions about that. All right. I have little to say about the lyrics of this particular song. I will, however, focus on some of the names mentioned in the song. The first name mentioned is Doris Day. She starred with Rock Hudson in a movie called Pillow Talk. She often played wholesome, pure characters on movies. Okay, that's what she did. The next name mentioned in the song is Annette Funicello, and for anybody that knows, she was one of the original Musketeers. Okay, she also played wholesome characters on television and in the movies a lot of times. Now, the final name mentioned in the song is Troy Donahue. He co-starred with an actress named Sandra D. And I think that's where they get the name Sandy for this Sandy Olsen. Okay. Now, the name of the movie in which Troy Donahue and Sandra D starred together was A Summer Place. So you guys can check all that out. If you want to give me some feedback on any of this, please do. I'd love to hear your feedback. Okay. But we got to return to the movie at this point. Now, there are several things I'm going to go ahead and grant. First of all, I will grant you that back in those days, young men and women would seek out isolated places so they could, quote, make out. But there were so many vehicles in this place. You have to keep that in mind. And not one single police officer was patrolling and making sure everything was okay. You never saw that in the movie. Especially when the Scorpion car came in. You're telling me not a single police officer checked that out? Please. I'm rather doubting this, but okay. Now then, we go to the next song. It is Greased Lightning, and I'm going to go through the lyrics. And in this thing, it's not so much the lyrics I'm going to get into, but what those lyrics were saying, okay? There were a lot of car parts mentioned in the song. There are some things that are also mentioned in the song that I will not get into in this video, but there are some car parts that are mentioned in the song. There are people out there that we don't fix cars, okay? We just don't. And so for us, we would have no frame of reference as to what they're going to do to this car. I mean, when they first get the car, it's a trash heap. So they're going to put a lot of tender loving care in this car, okay? Now, let's discuss this car part, these car parts. This car probably had or would have an automatic transmission. And this is a reference to the word hydromatic. As for the word systematic, I'm not entirely sure. I did perform a quick web search that turned up very little details. So perhaps somebody watching this video right now can clarify this particular term for all of us. If you can, feel free to leave a comment down below in the comments. Okay. The overhead lifters were used to lift the car from the ground without having to use a car jack. My research indicates that they were planning to install a 4-barrel carburetor. If you want to clarify this further, please feel free to leave a comment down below. Then fuel injector cutoffs are mentioned. Perhaps they plan to replace the 4-barrel carburetor with a fuel injector cutoff. I'm not sure if this technology I'm not sure if this particular technology had been fully perfected in the cars of the late 1950s or early 1960s, but I'm guessing that's possible. Anybody wants to clarify that, leave some comments down here in the comments below. The next car part mentioned is a chrome-plated rod. This could be a reference to a piston rod, which was plated in chrome. Interesting concept. The 4-speed on the floor could be a reference to the automatic transmission. Remember the word hydromatic? I wonder what they are referring to when they mentioned the quarter mile. Was it some kind of a racetrack? Was it just a stretch of road? Considering the reference of the heat lap trial and the very next lyric, it could be some kind of racetrack. I don't know. The purple taillights would be a very fancy thing on a car in the late 1950s. The song then references the GMC Palomino. The dash of this automobile must have been very fancy, according to the lyrics of the song. And that's apparently why they wanted to use them. Okay. But if anybody wants to clarify any of that, go ahead and do that down here in the comments below. Now, let's go back to the movie. At this point, I have to grant a few things. Okay. I'm going to grant the following. I'm sure that Danny and Kenickie were friends with Mrs. Murdoch. That's how they acquired access to the school shop room. And most of the Thunderbirds probably had jobs. Not all of them, apparently, because there were a couple of them that didn't. But I'm sure there was a lot of them that did. And yes, they would have used they would have used junkyard parts on the car. They couldn't afford brand new parts. There's no way they could do that. They just simply weren't rich enough for that. And I will also grant that they pooled their money together to make this car a proper car. Grant you that. Okay? And of course, all the Thunderbirds knew how to fix a car. No reason for me to think that they didn't. Okay? But even granting all of this, do you think over the period of a school year they would be able to successfully put every single part on that car? I'm like, maybe not. I'm sure they could have put quite a few parts, but everything, I'm not so sure. Okay. In the next scene, you have the Scorpions in their car driving down the road very recklessly, almost hitting a bunch of pedestrians. And you're telling me not one single police officer pursued them or pulled them over or gave them a ticket or pulled them out of the car and arrested them? I find that very tough to believe. Okay, we're talking 1957, 1958. The cops were a lot harder than they are today. So I find that very hard to believe. And I know a lot of people that will stand there and say that Sandy herself had a very weak persona and was basically kind of a pushover. But I'd like you to notice something. Notice the sharp rebukes she delivers to Danny at the diner. And this is not the only time you see this. She sharply rebuked him at the movie theater. All throughout the movie, if you're really paying attention, she sharply rebuked him over and over again. So having a weak character and being a pushover, not so fast. I think she was a lot more in control of the situation that everybody's leading on. That just doesn't sound like Sandy to me. I was watching very carefully. I was like, she's got more psychological control than everybody's giving her credit for. So, yeah, I'd be like, right. Okay. Now, you're telling me in 1957 or 1958 that Danny, having watched probably more than a dozen sports events, and definitely they had a basketball court on the actual campus of Rydell High. He knew what a basketball was. And you're telling me he didn't know the rules of basketball? He might not know every rule, but he probably knew several of them. So that I don't believe that. Okay. Well, now we have to go into yet another song. This was Beauty School Dropout. These are the questions I have for the lyrics. How do you miss your midterms in beauty school? I'd like to know that. And Frenchie had plastic surgery? Really? And if you like to style hair, why would you pursue a career as a stenographer? That didn't make any sense at all. All right. So despite the fact that she had curled bangs and fancy eyelashes, no one in the beauty business would hire her? Probably not the more professional shops, but I bet you could have found some two-bit jobs somewhere. They probably wouldn't have had her very long, but they probably would have hired her on the spot. Okay, but anyway, let's go back to the movie. Sandy and Danny are back on the dance floor. Suddenly, a young man grabs Sandy and drags her off the floor. And you're telling me that not one single adult saw this and tried to stop it? This is 1957/58. There is no chance in heck that some adult didn't see that and tried to stop him. Okay, that I don't believe that at all. And Sandy should have taken this guy to court and pressed charges against him. As a matter of fact, her family should have taken this guy to court and pressed charges. That guy should have been in jail. That's where he should have been. Okay, after a stunt like that, he should have been in jail. That's assault and battery. Okay, that's what that is. I don't care if he's a teenager or not. That was assault and battery, pure and simple. Even back then, they would have pressed charges against him on that. So, no, wrong. Okay, at the drive-in, Danny didn't know that his ring was stuck on his finger. Really? He had never tried to take that off until then? Please. I don't believe it. Okay? So. All right, now we have to go into yet another song. This is the song called Sandy. Of course, John Travolta sang this. And here we go with the questions on the lyrics on this one. Danny is more worried about what his peers will say about him in high school on Monday than how Sandy felt at the moment she ditched him at the movie theater? Something's wrong with this kid. Can't Danny see that Sandy is feeling worse than he is? Yeah, she's pretty low on the totem pole at this point. Maybe Danny should sit at the drive-in a little longer and really think about what he just did. Maybe he should think about Sandy's feelings and not the opinions of his classmates. After all, he was going to graduate in just a short period of time. Maybe. Instead of focusing on how much Sandy hurt him, maybe he should have told her how helpless he was without her. That's something that she might like to hear. I mean, this guy, he has some problems. And why Sandy put up with him for as long as she did, I don't know. But anyway, let's go back to the movie. Sandy saw Sandy at Thunder Road. Okay? At that moment, why didn't he summon her or possibly chased after her? Why? He loved her, didn't he? Give me a break. All right. Now, there is a Sandra D. Olivia Newton-John version, okay? And I'm going to ask some questions about those lyrics as well. What do you see that they don't see? Why do you think that being scared and unsure makes you a poor man's Sandra D? Why do you have to start again? Why do you have to say goodbye to Sandra D? Okay, now we're going to return to the movie. It was the last day of school, and none of Sandy's classmates have seen Sandy. And if they did, why didn't they tell Danny about her transformation? Really? Okay. Let's go through the final two songs here. Now, I know you were sitting there going, well, there was a song that Rizzo sang. I kind of skipped over that, mainly because there really wasn't a lot of meat and potatoes to that particular song, and I just kind of like, there's not much for me to ask, so I'll just leave it alone. I'm sure you guys will probably want to talk about that. You can do that in the comments below. But let's go into the song, You're the One That I Want. I know this is a very famous song, too. Let's talk about the lyrics for a second. What does Sandy need a man for? Okay. I mean, you know, I know what a lot of people think she needs a man for, but what is Sandy's thoughts on this? I would love to know that. Why would Danny be too shy to convey his affection? What could Danny do to keep Sandy satisfied? From Sandy's perspective, we need to know what she's thinking, not what he's thinking. Okay? And now let's go into the song We Go Together. Okay? Let's ask the lyrics these questions. What are you one of a kind of? Where are your names signed? Why do you think you will always be like one? Why do you think you will be able to find romance at a high school dance? Some people can go to a high school dance and find nothing. Okay? Why do you think you'll always be together? I mean, life happens. Let me tell you something. Right now, 3 of my former high school classmates have passed away. Think about that. So, always be together? Yeah, we'll see. Okay. Now, at the beginning of this video, I actually promised you that I would focus on the character Eugene, and there is a good reason for this. Okay. Obviously, Eugene was a nerd and most likely hung out at the Rydell City Library. Now, you say, well, he probably hung out at the school library too. Well, that was when school was in session. What happened when school was not in session? He probably went to the city library. He probably read lots of books. That would be Eugene, okay? Now, why is this important? Well, here's why, okay? There was a guy in New York named Harry Lorraine. I'm sure you've heard that mentioned on my YouTube channel many times, okay? Harry Lorraine was approximately 31 years old while these people were going to Rydell High. Harry Lorraine actually published a book in 1957 entitled How to Develop a Superpower Memory. Let's see. Could Eugene have known about the existence of the book? I'm sure that Eugene read lots of periodicals. I mean, the guy was probably a genius. Okay, so it would have been nothing for him to read one periodical after the next. You have to keep in mind that after Harry Lorraine published his book, he put out full-page ads in many big-time newspapers. So it would be of no surprise to me if Eugene had seen any of those ads. It just wouldn't have surprised me at all. Okay? And if Eugene had actually saw those ads, he probably would have either checked out Harry Lorraine's book in the library or bought himself a copy. Who knows? He would have checked this out. There's no question about it. Can you imagine how different this movie would have been if Eugene had read that book? And I have to tell you right now, it is 2022, and yes, Harry Lorraine is still alive. You're like, wait, what? Harry Lorraine's still alive? Yeah, he's almost 100 years old right now. I didn't say he was in the best of shape, but he's still alive. All right. So, what did I think of the movie? Well, it's not the worst movie I've ever seen. Oh, I could name some movies that are really, really terrible, but this is not one of them. The acting of John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John was fantastic. The songs, were okay, except for Hopelessly Devoted to You, which was a fantastic song. That is a #1 hit with me. It always will be, okay? But the thing is that my high school experiences were not the same as what you saw in the movie. I mean, yes, I'm more like the Eugene type, but I wasn't exactly like the Eugene type. I wasn't a total pushover, all right? And life was not exactly fun in high school. So this movie is supposed to invoke good high school memories. Well, for me, that didn't happen. So it's tough for me to actually enjoy the movie. I'm sure overall, a lot of people are going to like this. I just wasn't one of them. It was okay. I could definitely understand the characters. The plot wasn't bad at all. It was quite a decent plot. Did I feel that Sandy had to change herself to appease Danny? She didn't have to. And I don't think, if you really look at the Sandy character a lot more carefully, maybe she really wanted to. I don't think anybody was pushing her and peer pressuring her into doing this. I mean, I know that she was torn apart with her feelings for Danny, but I don't think anybody was saying, you better do this or else. I mean, after all, she's the one that went to Frenchie and said, I'd like to do this because I don't feel like that I could really be what Danny wants me to be unless I do this. So it's like, I'm getting the feeling that she really wanted to do this. She didn't have to do this transformation, but she did. Did that put her in a kind of a bad position? Maybe, maybe not. But I just got a feeling that Sandy was pretty much in control of the whole situation from second one. And I'm like, I don't think she was peer pressured enough to do it. I think her own feelings pressured her more than anybody else. So this was not a peer pressure thing. This was just more that she felt like that she really needed to do this. So I don't think people give Sandy enough credit. And there you go. Like I said, the movie would have been far more interesting if Eugene had gotten a hold of Harry Lorraine's book. I promise you the movie would have been a lot more interesting. But there you go. I'll give the movie a B, mainly because for many people it's quite enjoyable. They can relate to a lot of the characters. I just didn't. And so, and I really, I'll be clerical here and say that it wasn't the performers in this movie that was the fault of all this. It was the people who wrote the screenplay. They didn't make it relatable to literally everybody. And I was one of the people that just didn't relate that well to it. So I would put the blame more on the screenwriters than the people performing in the movie. The people performing in the movie did fine. They were doing very well. They actually did well with their characters, but the screenplay was just not something I was very interested in. So overall, I give the movie a B. I would definitely, if you're wanting to be nostalgic for high school, I would definitely check this out. If you just really didn't relate well to high school, maybe this is one you want to take a pass on. If you like the music, I hope you do. There you go. Okay, well, I want to thank you very much for watching this particular presentation and staying with me the whole time. I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. Huh? Oh, brother. I don't know who this 69 mega is, but apparently I ignored them and they just kept sending me the same message. Think about this for a second. Some idiot comes on here and says, "Stop watching the stream. Find love." Well, you think they're impressed with that? I'm not. So there you go. Well, like I said, I just want to do this live stream, and now I've done it. And I hope you guys enjoyed this little presentation. Remember, on Monday, I will be videotaping the Labor Day Parade. And very soon thereafter, I'm going to be videotaping the Mount Pulaski Parade. And then sometime in November, I'm going to be videotaping the Christmas cards in downtown Decatur, if they're there. And then after that, I'll be videotaping the Festival of Lights. During this period of time, I will also be making notes for future live streams. And there will be more live streams. I promise you that. They probably will be sometime between Labor Day and this Mount Pulaski Fall Festival. All right. So I see somebody has stopped by. Hello. Sorry, a little late to the game. I'm getting ready to shut off the live stream, but you can go ahead and say hello. I'll give you a couple of minutes. Hi. Oh, tuning into your break at work. Well, I appreciate that. I really do. I just got through reviewing the movie Grease. That review will be up in just a little bit, and I hope you'll check it out. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and close this up for tonight because I do have to go to work tomorrow, and I have to get things ready. But I appreciate anybody who was here tonight and watched all this. I didn't think this review would take 45 minutes, but it did. Thank you very much, Crazy Josh Cravey. He says, I definitely will. Have a good night. Well, I hope you have a great evening at work. And keep in mind, these live streams are up forever. If you want to comment, please do. All right. I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned.